Welcome to Ramble Reacts, everybody. Poof. What a game at St James's Park. We didn't think we were going to get a game, especially when Anthony Gordon was sent off, but it ended Newcastle United 2, Liverpool 3. Ultimately, it was heartbreak for Newcastle United, who battled so well, did so admirably well, Jim, to get themselves back into the game and get to the point where you thought they were going to win it, but then a 16-year-old popped up and grabbed the 3 points for Liverpool.
Yeah, I mean, we're all thinking the narrative is going to be about Newcastle, getting an incredible draw with the one striker that they do have at the club that no one's barely, mentioning, given the Isak situation. And that's looking like an absolutely amazing story. And then an actual child comes along and just kind of steals the show, really. It was riddled with kind of fantastic moments, really, this game, wasn't it? Because as you say, when Anthony Gordon goes off, you think, oh, this is it. This is probably just going to peter out. It will take the sting out of the crowd. The crowd were obviously amazing. Even at 2-0 down, when they sensed that Newcastle could get back into it, they really sort of powered them to that. And it was an incredible spectacle. I almost can't believe Newcastle didn't get anything out of it, given the amount of kind of energy and effort they put into that. Yeah, I mean,
they were clapped off, and rightly so, but it was a sickener. But for 16-year-old Rio Ōnomoa, what a finish. I mean, yes, it was a presentable chance, and had he not have scored, it would have been a bad miss. But considering his age, considering the situation, we were into the 100th minute by then?
Something like that, yeah.
The ball breaks to him, and a finish was with aplomb. It was a wonderful,
curl on it,
tidy finish.
Yeah, absolutely. Real finesse. Leaves Pope just rooted to the spot, which is the sign of obviously the whip, the bend, and the power that he's got on that. It's easy to think that that's straightforward, isn't it? But under the pressure like that, I know he's got nobody on him, but it's the curl on it there that really shows that this is a kid that's got some quality. What a moment.
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't think for large parts of the game Liverpool would need a 100th minute winner from a substitute, but they did, and that's because Newcastle battled so well. I mean, going back to the start of the game, I mean, Newcastle United, straight out the traps, they were up for it, they were full of beans. As you mentioned earlier, the stadium was absolutely rocking. You know what St James's Park can be like, very intimidating for teams to go and play there. They were creating opportunities. They'd pushed Liverpool back by and large. And I think a lot of people watching that game in and out of the stadium were thinking, right, you've got to score. You're on top.
Yeah.
Make this count.
Yeah, and they were kind of sensational in that period of play up until Gravenberch obviously goes and gets Liverpool's opening goal. And obviously you're right. We're all thinking you have to make this count. But at the same time, it really felt like they'd ruffled Liverpool quite a bit, and they were stopping them from stringing passes together, and they looked very kind of they looked like they were holding on and regrouping, which obviously they are so fantastic at. And you got to look at this 2 games into the season and go, well, that is the type of win that champions make, isn't it? And possibly there's an argument if they're needing to do that 2 games in, maybe that's not a good thing, but it might also be that they're still getting up to speed with the season and whatnot. But Newcastle really, they were the better team by some distance in those opening exchanges.
And it was it's what those fans have come to expect from old Ed Howe's Newcastle United. It's up and at 'em. It's full of energy, closing down, high
more energy
stuff.
than you is the tone, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And that midfield 3, much talked about, looked solid. And Bruno Guimarães, how he walks off the pitch at the end was
exceptional game.
Yeah, man possessed. But when Gravenberch scores that goal, it did just suck a bit of the life out of Newcastle. Not. It would be the red card that would do that for that first half. But it was it's a great strike from Gravenberch's point of view. A bit of a squirmy one. But if you're Newcastle United, again, the manner of that goal, how far out it was, it as I say, it's sort of Gravenberch, great strike, and he'll be well pleased with that, as he should. And I don't
But
know
they're not in any danger, are they, before he does it? Or it certainly doesn't feel like they've made much of a mistake in conceding it, you know?
Yeah, I feel that it's perhaps not quite right to call it a soft one to concede, but it feels like it comes out of nowhere.
Not. Sure. And that's just, that's the mark of the quality that a lot of these Liverpool players have. It's not that they make this stuff look easy. It's just most players can't do that. They've got a lot of players that can give you those moments. So you look at that happening and you think, oh, this is kind of essentially is typical of Liverpool. They've got those clutch players and they're just doing it again. And that's why you never feel safe against them. And again, early in the second half, when Ekitike scores that goal, you think it's only going to go one way, and they will be gutted about having conceded that. Just a little kind of, the ball falls fairly kindly to him, just a little bit of a lapse in concentration, I suppose, and that has obviously had a massive, massive effect on the game. But we should probably talk about the red card, shouldn't we? Because obviously that is the defining moment in the game there. And it's you can't do that, can you?
Oof. I think Gordon knew, didn't he? He didn't protest. Van Dijk knew as well, and I think you saw the interaction that they had afterwards, where Van Dijk's just looking at his calf, and Gordon realises
it's got those two massive stud marks down it.
Oh, I mean, when Gordon gets sent off, Van Dijk kind of sort of pats him on the back. It didn't seem patronising. It seemed like, look,
that's how it goes.
Exactly, like it was almost a bit like tough luck, pal. Because I don't think Gordon is a dirty player necessarily. I mean, it's not his first red card though. But
I think it's just a bit of recklessness, isn't it?
Rather
totally. Than kind of quote unquote dirtiness.
Yeah,
I think he's just really, really pumped up, and they're in a good moment. They're trying to get that kind of tone back from earlier on when they were on top, and he's essentially just misjudged it.
I mean, I think the only sort of flicker of protest that one maybe saw on social media or something was, he's not made much contact, or this, that and the other. But I mean, with the calf, the fact is that you saw the marks on his leg, you saw the sock was ripped. Even if he didn't make that much contact, even if there was no mark, the follow through is there. He could have really hurt Van Dijk, and I don't think anybody's complaining. The guy who did it didn't complain. It was a good process. Well done, VAR.
It was. It's when you see it in real time, isn't it?
Yeah.
That you realise how reckless it was. I also think that what's quite funny about it is that Van Dijk, he's obviously a very tough man. So that's probably hurt. He's got those scrapes down the back of his calf. But at the same time, he can't quite hide the joy in the fact that he knows that they're going to be down to 10 men. He's like, I will take that all day long. You can all have a kick at me if you want, if you're slinging your hook afterwards.
True enough, yeah. And when that sending off happens and they go in at half time, you do think to yourself, if it was 0-0, or if it was 1-0 Newcastle in particular, there's a chance there. You feel that they had the game, they didn't capitalise, they get sucker punched, and then they get a sending off, and then they come out after half time. And Ekitike scores after, was it 25 seconds? Or
15 seconds.
Yeah, whatever it was. And that's it. You're thinking, well, this is a pretty straightforward Ramble reaction. What you've got to do, everyone's going, I'd imagine there would have been some people who might have flicked over or watched something else. And Ekitike, let us just linger on his goal for a moment. Lovely finish again from him. He's really taken to the Premier League.
He really has, yeah. It looks like he's very, very at home, and I think he's going to score a lot of goals for them this season. We obviously haven't mentioned Alexander Isak yet, which is the game was so good, the narrative hanging over it hasn't even sort of come to the fore yet. But you look at him and you think, I mean, they are quite similar, aren't they, in a lot of ways? He's doing the things that Isak would do at Liverpool if he ends up playing there, and that's quite an interesting thing. And it makes me wonder if it will make Liverpool think twice about actually pulling the trigger on that, or if they'll look elsewhere to get a slightly different profile of player. But yeah, he's got really, really quick feet. He's really good at finding space. Although that said, there were plenty of moments where Newcastle's defence marshalled him very, very well. And again, they had a really, really kind of good evening, and it feels unfair that they've gone home with nothing to show for it. And the narrative around Newcastle in the summer has been very interesting, hasn't it? Because obviously so much of what shapes our opinion of teams, particularly in the summer, is based around the transfer window, and is based around quite tedious kind of banter about who's doing what and who's, failing at this and etc. And I think there's been a sense that people have forgotten quite how good this Newcastle team is without any additions to it. Mm-hmm. They got into the Champions League. They won the Carabao Cup. They're a really good team. They're a balanced team. They're a strong team. They are an absolute nightmare to play against at St James's Park. That nobody, goes there and has a comfortable win. So that's a quite interesting point from this. I think it's a sign of how competitive this team is going to be, even if they haven't had the window that they've hoped.
Yes, I think I take the points, and you're right. With Newcastle, I mean, you know what you're going to get from them, with the spirit they have, with the togetherness that side has, with the players they have, etc., etc. They can do something. The squad, in terms of age profile of one or two of the players, would need a little bit of freshening up. You might say.
It's absolutely maybe a bit short, but
and also an injury to one of those midfield three. I understand Tonali was outside for a while and so on, but the fight they have, they showed it in abundance in this game because, like we say, Ekitike scores, and that's it. See you later, boring. Mm-hmm. Genuinely, this is going to be boring now.
Yeah, definitely.
And my goodness, Bruno Guimarães and the boys gave us an evening. And like I say, that man walking off the pitch at full time, having no reward for his efforts in terms of points, seems remarkable. He gets the goal in the 57th minute. And Liverpool seemed to kind of relax a bit when they got the second, which you can understand. And Newcastle, they sensed that. And they came forward and thought, well, let's have a go. And the way Guimarães really kind of bullies Kirkic, doesn't he? With that header. It's great forward play. And Kirkic, I understand he's very, very new to the Liverpool side, and it'll be a heavier shirt than the Bournemouth one and so on. But he hasn't shown the kind of form yet that he did that made them sign him, of course.
No,
and he'll be disappointed.
Have a great game tonight.
Yeah, he'll be disappointed with himself. But Bruno Guimarães, the energy and the aggression he showed in scoring that goal, he then carried on for the rest of the evening. It was Beckham v Greece stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. He does seem to just have this kind of bottomless well of energy if he's angered enough, and he's a really funny player in a lot of ways where, some players, they lose their heads a little bit when they get kind of wound up like that and they make bad decisions and they jump into rash tackles. Guimarães, he just seems to get better and more focused and as you say, really sort of lead his team like that. And he was such a huge part in the energy they displayed in getting back into it. There were times where it almost felt like Liverpool had forgotten that they had a man advantage.
Yeah.
And I actually think possibly the reason that Liverpool even had the space to get that winner is that Newcastle were potentially still in a mindset of thinking they could go and get a winner themselves.
I think it was. I think it absolutely was. I think a concern I'd have about Liverpool is they didn't respond to that. They didn't think,
they didn't.
As you said, Jim, it's like they forgot that they were a man up. It was as if Newcastle were a man up. It was very kind of lackluster, really. And Liverpool's back line looks like you can get at it. This was the chat, in the Community Shield when Palace played them. What happened? Liverpool looked pretty frightening going forward in the early stages, and then Palace came back and everyone said, "Oh, hang on." And Jamie Carragher was saying, "I'm a bit concerned about this." Because Andy Robertson's not a starter anymore. Trent's not there. Kanate, has he lost focus? This proposed Real Madrid move, is that affecting him? Van Dijk's a little older. He's still a great centre-half, but perhaps are we beginning to see signs of age there? Time will tell. Let me rephrase that. He will in time, absolutely. But we shall see.
He will absolutely age. What we can guarantee that he will age.
Yeah, that's right. Perhaps it's a bit early to maybe talk about him in those kind of terms. We shall see this season. But I think that the first two games of the season, Bournemouth looked like they were then ready to come roaring back, and then it was a late rally and all that. I mean, look at the goal. Let's talk about that second Newcastle United goal. I mean, Nick Pope is a good goalkeeper, and he's been a great servant for Newcastle United. He's not known for playing out from the back. He's not known for Edison-like long balls that are pinpoint and all the rest of it. It's a hit and hope over the top. And once again, Liverpool, with that man advantage, failed to deal with something pretty simple, and the substitute Osula nips in, and suddenly the stadium's alight. It's incredible.
It feels like it's really a tactical mistake that goal is even possible because of the high line that Liverpool put together in terms of defending that quite deep free kick that Newcastle had. They really invited that exact situation. I suppose they backed themselves to just quickly clear it up and take the advantage of the I suppose being a bit further up the pitch when you do so. But it backfired pretty spectacularly.
I mean, it's piss poor defending. Like it's such a basic goal. When you know there's only a few minutes left. The team with 10 men, they're still knocking around. They're still in there. The crowd are up thinking there's something in for us. Heads on. Just so basic.
Yeah, it was. And obviously the place goes absolutely just deranged with joy at that point. And then I guess, 11 minutes comes up on the board and we're all thinking the same thing. There's going to be a winner. Yeah. And it's going to be spectacular one way or the other.
Totally.
And I suppose the fact that it's young Rio Ōnomoa is really one of the most romantic things, romantic ways that game can end, aside from a Newcastle goal, obviously. So again, a really brilliant match in just the second round of games. And I do think as well, part of the fuel of the Newcastle crowd was obviously the Isak situation. And,
yes, of course.
And knowing that he's kind of watching this somewhere, sulking in some way or another. And yeah, I mean, we were hoping that Palace Forest was going to be touchier than it was, but and it disappointed a little bit, didn't it, aside from the banner and whatnot. But in terms of the crowd, this delivered in spades.
Yeah, does that goal from young Rio, does that vindicate Isak? Want it to go?
Yeah.
You sit there going,
I just wondered if we'll get in the team.
Yeah, right enough.
Maybe I should just apologise to everybody. Both clubs have had a rat summer.
Yeah.
And it's it's going to be concluded one way or another. I was hoping he'd be in the stadium, just sort of like wearing John Lennon glasses, or
that'd be good.
But it wasn't to be.
Wasn't to be, sadly.
Refcam was there though. Refcam was there. What do you think of Refcam, Marcus?
This was my other observation from the game. How shit is Refcam?
So bad. Because the one bit of Refcam that was good was when the referee was in the box. I think Liverpool were defending a corner, and there are 2 or 3 players just saying something to the ref, and they don't look happy, and that's funny just because it is. But we can't hear them, so it only goes so far, and it's janky, isn't it? It is so janky. It's like
the Blair Witch Project. I mean, it was shockingly bad. Luke made the comment on WhatsApp. He was like, "It looks like Duke Nukem." I was half expecting the referee to sort of haul a machine gun over his shoulder, just not mowing them down. It's just an alien to appear or something. It was just so crap. No wonder they should never broadcast it again. Like when it was first used, and as you say, it was just all janky and jittery. Clearly, the director was a bit like, get this off the screen now. This is going to make everybody seasick at home. But yeah, the only bit that was barely broadcastable was when the referee was stood still and the players were having a go. But even then, the whole thing looks like a computer game or a video game, should I say.
It does.
It's so big. It's one of those things where, when people are like, how can we squeeze more out of football? We need more.
There's so
football.
Much of that already this season with the annoying interviews at half time of players who should really be with their teams.
Don't need interviews at half time, right? It's pointless. The other thing is, do you remember? I can't remember if it's at Spurs or Man City's ground, where if you pay, half of your monthly wage, you can watch the players in the tunnel before they go out. There's a glass thing and there's a bar, and you can watch them. And it's like, what? Why would you pay an extra $3,000?
You're gonna see them any minute.
It's just
doing their actual jobs, doing the good bit.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like we need to see it from the camera angle. We need to see it from a thing that no one else seen before.
Yeah, but do you remember The first kind of inklings we had of this, it wasn't on referees. There was a game in, I think, the Premier League Summer Series. It might not have been called that then, but it was in America, and it was
Yuri
Aston
Tielemans.
Villa against it was Yuri Tielemans and, funnily enough, Bruno Guimarães.
Yes.
And it was amazing, and that looked like a computer game, but in a good way. It looked like one of those old kind of advert, like pre-World Cup adverts. One that had Cristiano Ronaldo in it, and it looked great, and it showed you how quick the game is.
Yes.
And this is just the worst possible way of doing that.
Yeah, but footballers, right? Especially a player like Tielemans, you think he's got lovely balance. Okay, that's one of the things a top player needs. He's got a bit of grace. Don't give it to some. Look, referees are very fit. Okay, and I don't want to sound, but don't give it to some middle-aged bloke who's like trying to keep up with play and running around the pitch. You know, it's. I mean, we could possibly have the scenario where one referee forgets that he's got ref cam on and just goes about his day with it on for like a week or something. Punches
until
a player.
He gets home.
You know?
Who knows? Just goes about his day being a sort of middle-aged weird man.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Which, comes for us all.
And maybe it could get a bit Duke Nukem, although that would be, against the law, quite frankly. Well, I mean, it was inevitable that Liverpool were going to win because Newcastle United have now got 18 Premier League matches without a win against Liverpool. The last Newcastle manager to lead them to victory against Liverpool was Jim Campbell.
Steve McLaren
in December 2015. Nice for McLaren to get a positive mention for a change.
Absolutely, and hopefully Eddie Howe and Jason Tinder will be tapping him up for ideas.
Exactly, he was the last one that managed to mastermind a victory. But look, bigger picture for Liverpool, I tell you what, every game that goes by, my prediction for Arsenal winning the league, I think, I'm absolutely spot on. I would say this to
Top
Arsenal
of the league,
fans.
mate.
I would say to Arsenal fans, Man City, the Empire, it's gone. Liverpool, they can be got at. They're weak. Start celebrating the title win now. 2 weeks in. That's what I would say.
You know what? Maybe I will.
Yeah.
Maybe I will. I'll be honest, Marcus, it's been in the chamber for some time. Maybe I'll just go early.
Imagine that. The thing is, Jim, right, if you do go this early, then if you don't end up winning it, you kind of go, well, at least I had a bit of cheer. And if you do end up winning it, you think, well, I was bloody right.
Indeed.
Heed my advice, sir. Heed my advice.
Oh, yeah.
Now...
You've never been wrong before, have you?
Well, not about that. It was reported that NUFC co-owner Jamie Rubin and a PIF Posse delegation met with Alexander Isak at his home today.
Sinister. Just
to see if he was still there, presumably. I mean, the situation looks... I don't know. It's interesting though that Newcastle have had a £50 million bid for striker Jørgen Strand-Larsen rejected by Wolves. If you are Mr. Strand-Larsen, are you going in there going, did they? I mean, it's a lot of money, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
50, this could go one way or another.
Yeah. Would you? I mean, you'd accept 55? Would you? Would you accept 55? They're Champions League club, aren't they? It's the food chain, baby.
It is. You know what I have to say?
Go on.
In terms of how Newcastle themselves have approached this, I think they've been brilliant with it, really smart, in that they have emphasised that there is a pathway back to the team and being integrated into it, and they've essentially made it clear there will be no hard feelings. We want you to stay, and they've been really, really consistent in that.
Yes.
Obviously, that's what they want to happen. I suppose, if they really, really dig in, they can essentially just make that happen. Maybe Liverpool won't come back in with another bid. There's loads of different scenarios in which Alexander Isak is still at Newcastle when the window shuts, and I think they've played it really, really well.
Yeah, I think they have, and I think it's clear that Newcastle now, if they can find a striker who will be... I know when they went for Wissa, the talk was he'll be a replacement for Callum Wilson.
Yes.
Clearly, if they're going for Strand-Larsen, that they are now going for a replacement for Isak. And if they can get one, then we'll see a sale happen, I think, a bit quicker. But, I mean, £50 million for Strand-Larsen, I understand for Wolves, for them to replace him with a guy who they know can score goals in the Premier League, and Wolves may be thinking they could be in a relegation scrap this season. Maybe not. We'll see. Although, I mean, I have tipped them to go down.
Selling him would certainly aid.
Yeah, I think that would... I mean, clearly if they offered, an unbelievable sum of money, but he's... I would say he's bordering on sort of priceless, really, at this stage. I think if this is maybe, back in June or something, then maybe they accept. But yeah, can Newcastle find a replacement for Isak from this time before the window shuts? Maybe not a ready-made Premier League one.
Sure. With every day that goes by, it's harder and harder, and it will almost certainly be a downgrade, whatever happens, won't it? So it'd be very interesting to see how that plays out. I have to say, obviously, all of the headlines about Anthony Gordon are going to be about the red card now, but I think he was pretty impressive in that role. Now, I'm not suggesting he's a long-term solution to that, but as somebody stepping into a role that is not their primary role, I thought he did a really, really good job. And you know what? I thought, were this the 90s, he'd be the kind of withdrawn guy in a 4-4-2, and he'd be absolutely brilliant at it. Bit of Peter Beardsley about him.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I do quite like that. Well, speaking of Alexander Isak, we did see something quite provocative in Newcastle on Sunday. WWE star JD McDonough wore a Liverpool shirt with Isak 9 on the back while wrestling in Newcastle. I mean,
that's some easy heat, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Let's get the town talking.
It's probably quite expensive, that shirt. Absolutely worth it. Absolutely worth it for the hate you're going to get if you're into that sort of thing.
I should say so. But yeah,
great little tip for Mark Gay. Mark Gay himself might end up at Liverpool. He could wear a Liverpool game in his first in his last Palace appearance if he's serious about being a heel.
Well, I did think to myself after tonight's game that Liverpool could really do with Mark Gay at the back because, like I say,
you would think they're going to dip into the market for a defender, right? It does seem like it's the only obvious kind of potential weakness.
I think for me though, I mean, talking on that, I think what Slot did so very, very well last season was just guide the team. Klopp had obviously made a lot of changes, refreshed parts of the squad enough, and Slot comes in and just kind of guides it, just catches the momentum of that, and obviously with pretty poor seasons from certainly Man City and Arsenal tailing off as well, it just guides them, and Mo Salah plays wonderfully well, and we remember what happened this season, and they hardly, it was only Federico Chiesa who came in, of course. So he was all set up for him to succeed, and hats off to him. He did that. This season is different. He's made signings. He's now going to shape the team. We're going to find out what Arne Slot's Liverpool are really going to be like. And so far, as I say, okay, they're scoring goals defensively. They look a bit suspect, and I believe they've got Arsenal coming to town next weekend. And
that'd be a very, very interesting game and a very sort of interesting.
I think Eberechi could tear through them, Jim.
I would be very pro Eza doing that. But yeah, it's going to be a really, really interesting test of those two teams, isn't it? And we've mentioned it a few times, and it always comes up in this situation when there's kind of a champion who hasn't been a champion for a while as well. But retaining a title is really, really difficult, and it's a kind of a skill in itself because you've gone to the well so much in the season before. It takes a lot out of it. So but they are getting it done, aren't they?
They are indeed. And remember, everybody, if you're a neutral and you were a little bit sad to see Newcastle not get anything out of the game, as I think I was for a moment, just remember, though, the camera pan to Yasser Al-Rumayyan, Mr. Piff Posse himself, and he looked sad, and lest we forget, the man is an enormous cunny. All right.